Humans are one of the many evolved species with lenses in the eye capable of seeing visible light. Devices in the eye, including rods and cones, as well as chemicals like rhodopsin, help this. This experiment was conducted to measure the absorbance of light both before and after passing through a tank of water via a spectrometer.
Beer's law is a common equation used to express the ratio of initial light before it passes through a medium to that after it passes through a medium. This is called the absorbance. The medium through which the light is passing may be a liquid or a solution. In the case of a solution, the concentration of the medium will impact how the light that passes through that medium is absorbed. However, in this case, because we are only interested in the absorbance spectrum of water, concentration may be discounted because the concentration of a water solution or pure water is almost exactly the same. The path length is the amount of solution that the light passes through on its course from outside of the solution to the object that it is striking, or the sensor in this case. That path length is given in meters, centimeters, or some other unit of distance. Absorptivity expresses, at a given wavelength, the amount of light that will be absorbed by that medium. And for water and other substances, varies a great deal by the amount by the wavelength of light that you're working with, as well as the amount of solution that you pass through.
So why does life utilize visible light? Visible light from the sun is found in abundance on Earth, which we can see in the solar emission spectrum below. In addition to being easily reflected, it makes it the most viable choice for human sight. While UV light is also largely given off, it's not as easily reflected, and therefore it's not as well suited for vision in living organisms. In terms of absorption, water absorbs far less visible light than UV or infrared. This results in the human eye being more readily able to utilize it without any negative complications.
The graph on the right shows the general absorbance of light in water on the y-axis for various wavelengths shown on the x-axis. Absorbance is lowest roughly around 400 nanometers. This wavelength corresponds to the first of those on the visible light spectrum. The results of our experiment, where we shined a light through a tank of water and recorded it with a spectrometer, supports the spectrum to the right as well.
The vast majority of the evolution of life on this planet occurred in the oceans, meaning that all of the light which was received by the creatures that were evolving vision passed through water. As was previously established in this experiment, water absorbs most of the warm colors of light, much better than it does the cooler colors, such as green or blue. For that reason, green and blue were very useful for early creatures, and they evolved eyes that very effectively absorbed those wavelengths. The first type of optical molecule was bacteria rhodopsin, which changed form whenever it was struck by light, and which was used by photosynthetic bacteria to orient themselves towards the light so they could improve their productivity. This pattern continued upwards through the chain of evolution, all the way up through the evolution of eyes in relatively higher organisms. These organisms, because they also lived in the ocean, primarily had eyes which absorbed blue or green wavelengths. This continued all the way through fish without any eyes seeing light that was not passed through water first. However, when amphibians evolved, they had some time on the land as well, allowing their eyes to be exposed to different colors of light. However, because most of the evolution for eyes had already occurred, the light that was absorbed and used then still became to be the green and blue wavelengths, and eyes and rhodopsin have not changed much in order to include the warmer colors, as the rhodopsin that we have absorbs green, blue, and red light. However, humans differ slightly from these animals in the sense that they have eyes that have better retinas with more complex cells, a better lens, and binocular vision for good depth perception.
From our experiment, in addition to outside research, visible light makes the most sense for the human eye to observe. It's very abundant on Earth, it reflects well, and it's less absorbed by water than other types of light, as we saw in our experiment. Human evolutionary ancestors came from oceans, in which visible light was the best option for sight, and all of this contributes to our visible spectrum as a species dwelling on land today.